a long story and a crowded one. I was a revolutionary who lost his ideals in heroin, a philosopher who lost his integrity in crime, and a poet who lost his soul in a maximum security prison. When I escaped from that prison over the front wall between two gun towers, I became my country's most wanted man. Luck ran with me and flew with me across the world to India, where I joined the Bombay Mafia. I worked as a gun runner, a smuggler, and a counterfeiter. I was chained on 3 continents, beaten, stabbed, starved. I went to war. I ran into the enemy guns, and I survived while other men around me died. So it begins, this story, like everything else, with a woman and a city and a little bit of luck.
So, Greg, Shantaram, the book, starts with you coming to Mumbai. You live in a hostel for a bit, but then you move into this slum. What were your first impressions of the place that would be your home?
I was horrified. And I looked at the expressions on the people, and they looked to me so menacing and so strange as I came in. Years later, after I'd lived here myself for a year and a half, and I saw other foreigners coming in into the place, I had the same expression on my face, and that expression is, what is this person so afraid of? This is a safe place. And that's what they were thinking. They were looking at me, and I, of course, had fear on my face and dread. But as I discovered, it's actually a very safe place to live. Once you're here, you're in a community that will protect you, and a safe community of good people, and who become very good neighbors.
Did you not have that fear like, oh my God, I've got to get out, I've got to get out?
No, that kind of claustrophobic feeling, I don't have that, thanks be to God. That's one of the reasons I think why I love India. The dread that I felt was the poverty and sickness I saw around me, and I thought, I can't fix this. In the end, I realized you don't have to fix it, you have to embrace it. You have to become part of it and do your best, as everyone else does who lives here. Everyone does their best. Everyone tries and does their best.
So when you come into this slum now, is it a sort of a nostalgic feeling in a way?
Yes, especially at night, because at night it's very different. It's very dark. You can see the fires in people's houses, and people are cooking, and you can see all those fires inside. 1 second, I'm just going to make sure that the dogs don't bite anybody. Samadna? For Madam? Okay. All of these things have been set up for the holy celebration. They're fantastic, aren't they?
Yeah.
All done by hand. So this is where my clinic used to be. Sorry, this house was very small, with a chota ghar mein, and this very, very small chota ghar, little house, was here. And I used to come and look out at these towers that were being built. If you look behind there, if you come over here, you can see the twin towers, these tall buildings. Yes. And at that time, all the houses were very small, and you could stand up and look above all of them.
But the thing is that you weren't a doctor. I mean, you kind of became one by default because you happened to have a medical kit.
Yeah, I'd done a St. John's ambulance course, and so I knew how to treat victims of various things, from burns to various other things. I had a very complex medical kit that friends had given me in New Zealand with some kind of prescience. They'd somehow known that I would need this, and they gave me 2 things, a guitar and a medical kit. I didn't know how to play the guitar, and I wasn't a doctor, but as it turned out, both things became very important to me. The guitar became a way of communicating with other people, and the medical kit came to define my existence here in the slum. I became the doctor here for my 20,000, 25,000 neighbors during those 18 months that I lived here in this slum, and for the years beyond, because I always kept coming back every week, once or twice a week.
And when people started calling you doctor and asking you to fix all manner of ailments, did you never just sort of suddenly go, you know, I'm actually not a doctor?
I said it many, many times, and people would nod their heads and say, and then turn and say, he's an excellent doctor. And I would say, please tell them I'm not a doctor. And they would say, very good, and turn and say, he's the best doctor you'll ever find. And so no, people didn't accept it. Because I was treating people, doing first aid, they thought I was a doctor.
Shantaram's characters are all made up by you, except the experiences are real. I mean, you've been upfront about the fact that the characters are invented, but the experiences really did happen to you. How come you decided not to go with just a straight memoir?
Because I'm a novelist.
for me, as speaking as a writer, the most beautiful and profound way to talk about the human condition is through writing art, through the novel. And I think it's the single most difficult of all of the arts to achieve is a novel at the highest level, a literary novel. And the construction of such a novel is extremely difficult, and to carry that off, you actually have to inhabit your reader's mind, and you actually have to touch their soul. I mean, pretty much anybody can write a memoir and tell their own story, but it takes a certain kind of writer to be able to create a novel, and that was for me the greatest challenge.
We've just come at water time.
It's actually a really happy little scene. Were you changed by your time in the slum?
I was changed by living here. I learned a lot about how people of different faiths can live together really happily. Without political pressure, without social pressure, people of different faiths live very happily. The Christians celebrate with the Muslims celebrate with the Hindus celebrate with the Parsis celebrate with the Sikhs, and they all celebrate with the animists, and so forth. This is Motions in the Oceans.
Yeah.
So this is where you go when you want to, and the tide is out, and then in the evening the tide will come and sweep across and clean it.
Right.
Women have to go down here on the rocks. Of course, one of the highlights of living in a place like this is that the police can't find you. We always know these streets better than they do, so they can never find you. Once you're in, you can navigate your way through and lose them anywhere.
Well, you know what they say about back alleys at
Hello?
night? Was this ever dangerous?
No, only for bad people.
Yeah, one of the things that really, really stood out to me in the book, because it just made goosebumps pop up everywhere, is when Lynn brings Carla back to the slum, and they're walking down a little alleyway, pitch black, and then the rats.
Yes.
Is that really how it happens?
Yes, it does. In the slums, the rats come every night, and they come in a wave at around 3 o'clock in the morning usually.
A wave of rats?
A wave. 2 and 3 deep. They run on top of each other's backs, 2 and 3 deep. They sweep through the slums, and they consume all the garbage which is left there. And they eat everything, paper, plastic, bits of cans, everything, and they leave it clear and clean and fresh. Without the rats, the slum couldn't survive. It would choke to death on its own rubbish and filth. Oh, आप ठीक? कैसा गया तुम्हें? बड़ा है? अरे क्या डोली है? अरे बाबरी. Bye bye Ritika. दूसरा टाइम फिर मिलेंगी. There was a young guy living here and working in my clinic with me on a part-time basis, and has always lived in the same slum, in the same community. He's always been here. Now all of this will be cleared. It will all be gone within 1 to 2 years, because big development companies have come in and they're buying this land in huge amounts. They're coming with trucks full of money, literally trucks full of money, and they're buying this land. They're buying all these houses, and all these little houses are very expensive now, because they know that this land is in demand. They want now to build big developments.
Does it sadden you that within 1 to 2 years, everything that...
No, I'm sure that the people will go to something better.
Hitting the road, we explore another key Shantaram location, Leopold's Cafe, also a target in the Mumbai attacks.